and they have probabilities just like everything else. I guess my phone just informed me that I'm having to start another video, another part. So this is part 2, I guess, a one take. And the previous, basically I'm catching you up here a little bit, that I want to share why wearing masks and helping understand the coronavirus. So I'm doing a little bit of both of those too. I'm giving some hopefully well-reasoned opinions on this. And I am doing this also to help those that are proponents of masks and are proponents of being very cautious about the coronavirus. Because so often those people are really bad at communicating. Like, just dangerously bad. Because they've hurt their own cause, right? If this is their cause and they want people to wear masks, or they want people to be careful and use their hand sanitizer to stay socially distanced, those things, they're really bad at communicating those things. So I invite them to listen as well. Hopefully I'm doing all right at communicating this. We've gone through a bunch of things in the first 30-something minutes. And if this is as important as we think, we're in this kind of fog of war, combating this alien life form, this new form of life. It really is a new form of life that we don't really understand. And it's related to other types of viruses that are also coronaviruses. So we can kind of guess at a lot of things and say, we believe it's going to act in a certain way, then we test it, and hopefully it comes out that same way, or hopefully less virulently or less problematically. So we wouldn't mind being wrong. You know, hopefully it acts different than other coronaviruses in a less problematic way. The problem is it's not looking that way in all cases, which is too bad. But we're trying to figure out this new form of life, and our science is catching up, and it's all right to admit that we are still so much in the dark. There's this fog of war, and we're figuring it out. And that's the other. So we've gone through a list of things, helping people understand that we're stopping respiratory droplets when we wear a mask. And I would like, this is a personal side note. I mean, different masks. Okay, we'll go through it like this. There are levels to different masks, right? Like some will stop more than others, right? In using like a cloth mask, like if you cut up a shirt and put it over your face, it is going to stop less than this. But there are much better ones than this. But if it's about the respiratory droplets, which is what we've been told, then it's and then there's this concept of aerosolized droplets. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's more like they have, I don't know everything about them, but that's like they linger longer. Okay? They're in the air and they float around a little bit more than just like spit that comes out and drops down, right? The finer the mist, the more airborne it can be, and the longer it will last in the air. So I think we should recognize that. And obviously, the finer it is, the less virus it has. So it may last longer and be more problematic because of that, but be less problematic because it may have less virus. May. It's all about probabilities, right? So we talked about that and how we can help educate people in that sort of way. So we're training the troops while lessening the fog of war. And we're doing so badly at that. We are depending so often on news media. Do you think that they can give that nuance in their 30-second sound bites? Maybe they could do better at it, but I just don't think that it's well done anyways. I've watched some videos from was it 1960s, or maybe it was the previous pandemic to that. No, I think it was the 1961, 60 something, where they came onto the news and they had a long section educating the population. Now, we don't all listen to the same news. We're not gonna like all congregate to listen to ABC, you know, at 7 o'clock to learn more about this new life form. We're all going to our own different places, and that's part of the problems is that we've gone to these ends, you know, these far ends, and they've become very political. So how good are they at explaining the things that we need to know, which aren't the politics of the matter often? Okay, so that's part of the issue, isn't it? It really is, where we're getting the information. We're depending on these short sound bites, and maybe people aren't willing to listen right now. 44 minutes is what I've recorded. Maybe it's too much, and I'm not the best communicator. That's why, I mean, someone could condense this down, and I hope they take this and condense it down into some bullet points that are well rationed and empathize with the people that are they're not quite believing, and they have reasons for not believing it. And I've shared some of them, you know, like they've looked at it maybe more life or death, whereas perhaps it needs to be looked at quality of life. And maybe the virus won't kill you, but it will have impact on your lungs or your brain or some other part of you for long periods of time, similar to like polio. And so a stall tactic is great. And I know that the listen to part 1, I've already heard a little bit of this, but it bears repeating, because this is what someone needs to do, is practice communicating these concepts so that when you communicate with others, you can condense it a little bit more each time, but still have the same impact. So let's get to something else. Whatever happened, we've gone full bore on masks. Whatever happened to this? Whatever happened to hand sanitizer? Whatever happened to social distancing? We said 6 feet at the beginning. They're still on the signs all over the place. I see them here. I'm like in the Tetons in Yellowstone right now. I see those signs, 6 feet. What happened to that conversation? When you switch over and leave your previous child, and the child in this case was your well thought of rational theory, like hand sanitizer, social distance, you know, those were good. When you leave them behind and stop talking about them, people tend to think, are you going to stop talking about this in 1 month as you stopped talking about hand sanitizer? That's a problem. You stopped talking about this and about social distancing, and you started talking completely about masks, and you hurt your cause. This still can kill viruses. Now, it's not like 100% all the time, you know, and washing your hands can still help, and staying socially distanced can still help. You need to keep talking about those, because if you drop it like a, I don't know, drop it like it's, I don't know what the most appropriate thing to say there is. Drop it like, yeah. So, if you drop those previous things, then they're going to trust your future things a little bit less. Let's talk. So that's a valid point. Let's put a bookmark on that one right there. Boom. Okay, that's important. Keep talking about them. Distance can still help. Would you rather be 1 foot from someone wearing a mask or 10 feet from someone not wearing a mask? I don't know. Like, I presently feel like I'd rather be 10 feet from someone not wearing a mask than close to someone wearing a mask, because remember, this isn't 100%, but it does have impact. So we need more studies and corroborated studies. So one study does not science make. Corroborated studies are what we need, and that takes time, but hopefully we're expediting it. So we need to know, like, or risk assessment, right? So people need to like get that information. Like, is it better that I just be 10 feet away? Obviously 10 foot plus mask is going to be the best. Masks, you know, what type of masks? Is it like, is the risk assessment is saying that I can just wear this like cheap homemade thing? Or is the risk assessment saying N95? It feels a little bit more towards just wear a cloth mask and cut it down by whatever it is, 70%, making up that number right now. Cut it down by 70%, and the other person is going to have it, and they're going to cut it down by 70, and the multiple, you know, like it doesn't just make 140%, it makes like 400% reduction. I don't know. That sort of thing. And then the 10 feet and washing your hands and don't touch your eyes and your mouth. Those things still are there. We should still talk about them. Switching completely over to masks has not been helpful, that if you're just talking about that. Also, let's talk about respiratory droplets. Right? If I'm talking loud and passionately like this, more of that's happening. If I'm singing and stuff like that around someone else, more of that is happening, right? If you're talking softly, less of that is happening. But people may say, oh, it doesn't matter, just wear a mask, you know, like, but to some extent, maybe, is this going to work? Maybe you just don't talk in public? I've asked that question. If I am around in a public area and I just don't open my mouth, I breathe through my nose. I'm not sick. I can breathe through my nose. If I'm sick, there's maybe something I want to look into, you know? Maybe I should be tested. But if, not that necessarily the virus is giving you stuffy nose, I don't know that. But in any case, if I'm coughing a lot, then you should look into it, that sort of thing. It's like people are like, well, you can't, like, what if you cough? I'm like, if you're coughing, then probably wear a mask. But if you're not coughing, you feel very healthy, you may be asymptomatic. We understand this concept of asymptomatic, that it can pass the virus. We don't know, we know it's possible, we don't know percentages, and we haven't seen corroborated studies to say, look, non-symptomatic people are this problematic or this probable to pass it along versus others, right? Like, you know, if a symptomatic person is like 1 out of 20 people that they come into contact with will get it, or asymptomatic is 1 in 100, or are they 1 in 1,000? If we had this information, our soldiers for the fog of war would be more well-informed, and that would be so much more helpful. But back to that thing, if we're breathing through our nose, is that less? I think that it's so much less respiratory droplets. The mouth is just, you know, to me it seems so much more of a wetter place. That's where moisture comes out the most. So if you could think, okay, I'm going to be 10 feet away from people, breathing just through my nose. Okay, like help people recognize that. And then they'll say, look, I'm not going to be 10 feet away from people. So maybe a mask will be good in this case. So if you're saying all cases need masks, then how well is that communicating to people? Like, is it really working well for you, for them? I don't know. I don't know if it's communicating the message very well. If they said, well, why can't I just be 10 feet away from people, socially distanced? You need to have some better stats on your side, or appeal to that. We're stalling. We're trying to figure it out. It's more problematic than we think because of quality of life issues more than just mortality. So stick with us. Wear the mask. Okay, so here's a good thing for wear the mask proponents. A mask is like, everyone deciding to wear a mask is kind of like this social contract with people generally. We're saying we don't know, we recognize we don't know the problems with it. We're still in this fog of war, and in the meantime, we're wearing a mask because it could be bad. Not that we know it's how bad it is, because it's been decently bad. We don't know how bad it is, but we're wearing a mask in general in public because we don't know how their body is going to interact. We know old people, it's very problematic for old people, right? But maybe some bodies have issues and we haven't quite figured that out. So in general, we're wearing a mask because I don't know, they don't know who's going to be impacted the most. And when you get and you're talking to a friend and you're hanging out with them, it's easy to recognize their risk assessment. Are they backing away from you? Are they wearing a mask? Are they coming up to you, giving you a hug? Okay, the risk assessment is saying they're not too worried about it. So that's the social contract of whether they're right to worry or not. We don't know. It's fog of war, right? But when you're imposing on, so it's a lot of people come from this freedom approach. When you're going out into public, in places where you're close, like if I'm in public and there's no one around, we recognize that the respiratory droplets won't affect someone that's not there. And if I'm not breathing loud, how much aerosolized droplets are going to remain there when someone comes 2 minutes from now, 1 minute from now, that sort of thing. I'm careful what I touch, extremely careful when I cough or sneeze. Try not to, and not just sneeze into your mask, take it off for a moment. Do a really good protection of sneeze, because this is if you believe in how masks work, you know that a sneeze is not going to be stopped as well by this as to do a really good job covering it up. Okay, so, but it's kind of like this, I wish I had a better word for it. It's not like a perfectly worded for social contract, but we don't know the danger that we're inflicting on others potentially. It's statistics, probabilities. We don't know the danger that they could be impacting us with. And we know that we can't stop that impact simply with just a mask, but we lessen it so much. And so, but when you get into a small group and you can kind of risk assess, and they're not interested and you're not too worried about it, then that's up to you to make those decisions, to take on that risk together. You can't go as a single person say, I just don't want to wear a mask. And then you're impacting everyone else that you don't know where their risk assessment has put them. And this is something I'm trying to word better. So if I'm not very convincing on this, it's just because I'm trying to state this better. I've heard a few people state it really well. I'm not re-communicating it very well. But hopefully you understood that, and hopefully someone could re-share it even better. So, but it is challenging. I went to a 4th of July, well, it was on the 2nd. I went to a 2nd of July activity at a park, and there was thousands and thousands of people, and their risk assessment said, not so bad. They looked perhaps at the mortality rates and said, look, this is not bad. And I'm of a certain age where it's really not bad. And my kids, that sort of thing. So they're looking at it that way, and they're saying, oh, I'm with the people. I'm social. So if socially distancing isn't as good as we thought because the particles stay around longer than we thought, we need to be told this well. We need to be It took a long time for people to, there was a lot of work to talk about this 6 foot thing. Now we need to go to the, talk about other nuances to the 6 foot, if that is the case that we need that. But they're at the park and they're like, well, I'm not going to get too close. Our lines are a little bit more spread out than the past. Is that good enough? Is that the risk assessment we need? And if that's not, and you don't think it is, like they need to be further than 6 foot, or they need to not walk into a bubble where someone has been, because no one in that, what I'm saying, on the 2nd of July, when I went to that thing, no one was wearing a mask. There was thousands of people. No one was hyperbole. There was like 10 people. 10, I don't know. I had my mask, my other mask, not this one, because I like another one. I think the other one is more effective anyways. So I had it, willing to wear it, but it's just like, okay, no one here feels that the risk assessment is very high, and I don't want to, I don't know, maybe I should you in those cases, if no one else is wearing it, like, should you do it anyways? Are you doing it for the right reasons? Do you really believe it? Or are you trying to make yourself look and seem better and feel better than, well, feel better is fine, but like, just trying to make yourself look better than everyone else? Or are you trying to truly like start a trend that, because more people that wear it, then more people feel comfortable? So I suggest that. I mean, I even advocate for more shops and stores to implement a policy and say, look, we don't know how effective all this is, but we're in a fog of war and we're willing to go the little extra, because it's not just about mortality rate, perhaps. So I've laid out a few things. I'm going to rack my brain a little bit to see if there's anything else to share. Let me know which things you think were the most beneficial that I shared, and maybe how to share them better. I think that when we're attacking other people, look, the long-lasting impacts that we know are almost for certain about the coronavirus is the impact on our hearts because of so much anger right now. That could be the real challenging thing. We're so angry so often with so many people. We're using even this as a weapon against our friends or potential friends or family. And we're allowing so much hate between us and others. That's real. And that's problematic, and that will impact the world more than you think. So this can be a problem to so many people because of its attached smugness and arrogance and hate that comes out so often. They don't want to be like those people. So you that are a mask champion listening, and you shared that little IQ test thing where it's like a little picture of someone wearing a mask, and today's modern IQ test. The arrogance and the hate that you're spreading with that is real, and it's impactful. We don't know how impactful the coronavirus is now, but you have damaged, a little bit of hyperbole, but I'm hoping I'm putting that message out there. You are a problem when you do those sorts of things. And we should all work towards having thick skin. It didn't impact me. I thought it was cute and clever too. Oh, that's cute and clever. I also thought you were annoying and people I don't want to be like. Okay, so I guess I didn't think it was too cute and clever. I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be you. Because you're not even championing a cause. You're just being smug with a cause that you're attaching yourself to without really being a good proponent of. And you're just using it as a laugh, someone's I don't know. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing, and I'm sure I've done things like that in my past too. And I don't know why I did them. Because I was dumb. We're all dumb. We're being so rude to each other. We're so bad at communication. We're in the fog of war. There's crossfire, right? Like, if we're going to use that analogy, there's crossfire and there's friendly fire, I guess is the word I'm using, looking for. There's a lot of friendly fire right now, trying to figure everything out, figure out who's the enemy, I guess. We're not the enemy. Well, we kind of are. We're information is, in this information age, there's a lot of misinformation, isn't there? All-time low of confidence in media, right? And that's where we're still going to try to find information about this crazy new life form. And we're going to this place we don't even trust anyways. We have to go to like a few different places to verify that information. Kind of like the science has to verify with multiple tests. So it's hard. It's hard right now because of the lack of trust in different places that we used to go for information. And the information is getting so it's lacking calories. It's a lot of words without much depth, meaning not much nuance, right? I'm not perfect at wearing a mask. I recognize, and that's the thing. We all have things that we're like, we know that's right and true, but we're not the best at it. If you're a churchgoer or religious, you understand where that's coming from. You can believe thoroughly, but not be amazing at it. I want to do better. I would love to see more people doing it because it's a stall tactic to me. I don't know what the quality of life impacts of getting the coronavirus can be. I don't know what the probabilities are. Hopefully they are low. Hopefully the mask was an overreaction. But also, I don't want to, I'm the same issue. Like, we've talked so much about masks. Wash your hands, sanitize, watch the amount of respiratory droplets coming out of your mouth. Distance. Those are all still useful. If you're a mask person, don't wear a mask in a car by yourself because you seem ridiculous and people don't want to be associated with you. I know that sounds funny, and I know you're your own individual. We're setting examples by wearing a mask and making it feel more comfortable for other people. That's a statement that mask wearers can use. It could be helpful. And maybe more people need to be more strong-willed and wear it no matter what. Like, if you feel the risk impact is high for you, you should just want to wear it. But we know that people are timid, and it's too bad. But it happens, and maybe we can just set a good examples. But also, wearing a mask alone in a car, or running by yourself wearing a mask, like just doing your exercise outside, running, wearing a mask. It's like, come on, you're hurting the cause too. Like, there's an extent to wearing a mask, maybe a little bit more than you need is good, but going to that far extreme is like hurting the cause. Okay, here's another random one I just want to throw in real fast. There have been studies about the impacts of prolonged mask wearing on people. And to just suddenly ignore that science is detrimental to the cause of wearing masks. But allow a medical person perhaps to better explain. I've read the scientific journals and I saw that they're like, there is negative impact. But they gave stats and I didn't know how to interpret it perfectly. I didn't know if it was like really bad negative impacts or just like kind of bad. Like sugar can cause cancer. you know, like that kind of bad, but we still eat sugar. Like, I didn't know how to fully read that. So our medical profession is failing us. Our medical profession failed us, obviously, when they said for a portion of time they were talking negatively about masks. Like, it's not that important and it's not that good. And they were coming out with, like, why you shouldn't go out and rush in to get a mask. Like, we should not ignore that history. That was recent history. Ignoring that is problematic. In the medical industry, their silence, perhaps, during that time was problematic. When the media was saying to not, where were they? Where were they? They were staying, why weren't they on the news saying, look, we understand where you're coming from, we don't want to rush either, but masks are helpful. Their silence back then is part of the problem today. So it's not just someone on Facebook, it's not their problem, it's the medical industry wasn't ballsy enough to get on the news and say, look, that's a little bit of misinformation. Or, yes, we recognize those studies, there is prolonged impact, but it's like the same of like eating sugar causing cancer. I keep on coming back to that, but it's helpful. Okay, I don't want this to be a part 3. I've got to stop this soon. I threw in a couple other little points that I think are really important here at the end. We understand there's been a lot of failings. It's the fog of war. We haven't done everything perfectly. I mean, we have a governor in New York City that looks like he killed all these old people by doing something like sending them back to nursing homes. Like, we did some messed up stuff. And I'm not even going to like crucify them on that cross, because we didn't all, it's a new life form. We didn't quite get it, and it was hard to really wrap our brains around it. I mean, like, it's what, 6 months later, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting this. I guess it's not been that many months, but I'm getting this. I feel like I know we're in a fog of war. We still have a lot to learn, but I've got a good approach to things now. Better than before. Of course, I was just off by myself for months and not around people, so pretty easy for me to have been safe and not impact anyone's life much. So anyways, those are some of the thoughts. I look forward to good, nuanced conversation. Gold star if you listen to it all. Hopefully you can repeat the message better than I shared it. I know this will make the non-mask champions happy when I share this, because this is part of their problem. You mask champion, you people that have been sharing on Facebook, stop it. You're horrible at communicating. You're doing a terrible job. Get better at it before you share your stupid little commentary. Say that with all love. Because some of you are trying hard in a good way. Some of you are just caustic people that have been Pavlovian rewarded for years on controversy, like by Facebook with these likes. I'm going to get a lot of likes. I'm going to get a lot of comments because I write something kind of like a little bit nasty, a little bit mean. I'm just going to share it the way it is, like I don't hold back the truth. And you share these things and you get these likes and you get like reward, and you're like, oh, people, oh, okay, I like doing that, like now you think this is good. It's not. You're bad people. You're not that bad. But what you're doing sucks. But I get why you're doing it. Because the likes, you've been rewarded again and again for causing little bits of controversy, being kind of harsh word and not nuanced. I get it. You're not bad at heart, just done sucky things. But let's get people to be careful during this time until we figure out this new enemy. I hope this all sounded, I hope my approach was good, humorous at times, thoughtful. I hope I can get better next time I share it. This isn't the end all. And that's what I hope we all, like, I hope all of our message are like, here's my thoughts and my truths, and, but I'm wanting it to get I want to have a better understanding next time. Not like we are so vicious, like we're gonna guard our thoughts right now like a bulldog. Like, don't get, I don't know if bulldogs do that, but like, just guard your territory, and you can't say anything bad about what I'm saying, because I'm just gonna, you know, like, gonna attack you back. But we're willing to like go, okay, like, I didn't think about it that way. I'm willing to think about it differently with that new information. Hopefully people can communicate in a way that helps with that. Okay, now we're going in circles, and now I should stop. I do want the best for everyone, and I hope we all do well, but mostly I want there to be less anger, and for us to, we need to get better at handling our anger issues. Everyone, this country, this world, that's what we should be working hard on. In the meantime, while scientists are trying to figure out coronavirus, let's figure out how to handle our emotions better, our anger issues better, in a healthy way, and to be in control. It's self-mastery, self-control. Control that anger, that snarkiness, that virulence on social media as well. Anger is our real pandemic. That is really dangerous. So, just want to share those things. Thanks, bye.